welcome back to the Masters mod. As always, I definitely encourage you guys to play this by yourself, or at least try to figure it out. But honestly, with these bosses, if you want to get a little hint on how to start, that's pretty understandable. Definitely read the scan information on the bosses, because, I mean, the modder, he rewrote all the info there. So there's actually a lot of really good tips that will tell you some of the mechanics that are transferable to basically a lot of bosses to come, and then also some of the random encounters too. So the main challenge with Spherimorph is actually just surviving until you're in a spot where you have the weapons that can damage it reliably, or you have the whatever element it's weak to at the time. Also, it and a lot of bosses to come hit super hard. So, as you'd expect, you need to either buff yourself up with Shell or Protect, or Power Break and Magic Break, because all of those things stacked up together can cut the damage taken to you by, let's see, half for the break, and then another half for the Shell Protect. So it would bring you down to a quarter, and then if you have the right Elemental Ward, that can bring you down to an eighth of the damage. So that's super survivable. Really, if you have one of these things, then, you know, most things at half damage, your tankier characters can definitely live, but your squishier characters might have trouble. But if you have the quarter damage coming in, then most guys can definitely take that. Now for Spherimorph, it actively tells you, hey, use Threaten. So I've used it a lot in some of the random encounters before, but I never went super in depth in it. So now I'm going to. So really, Threaten is great because it makes it so that the target gets brought down to one turn below Orin's, in this case, turn. And since he's super slow, it drags their turn down a lot. Now, Threaten works even on a lot of bosses, even on some endgame bosses. Only thing is that there are three caveats. One is you cannot haste or slow either the target or Orin when they're in their threat position. The person threatening, so like Orin, he cannot react. So like if you had auto med, auto potion, and he's threatening, he won't do that. But then that's also acts to the target. So they won't auto heal, they won't auto med, they won't even counter. So it's really good for shutting down things with a lot of counters. But one other caveat is you can't threaten 2 times in a row. Because, you know, you have Orin drags a turn down, and then he has a turn right before the enemy. But if you go for threaten the second time right in a row, it's not going to work. But most bosses can get threatened twice. It's just not a guarantee the second time. So for sometimes it's good to not threaten at the beginning, so that way you have a very reliable one halfway through or more during the crux of the fight, so that way you can really burst down that damage. So once we're in a good spot and everyone's hasted up, really one of my favorite strats is actually intentionally slowing Orin and then getting off that second threat for the super burst damage at the end. So it's very satisfying when it works. Now make sure to get those levels, because yeah, we need all the help we can get, and the next bosses are no joke either. Other than stats, the main thing to focus on is that Yuna gets auto life, which can be a very useful skill, and then Riku gets copycat, which is a very strong skill. Then, if you're me and forget to lance it all of Kamari's overdrives, in the agency there's a little keypad that lets you fight a Chimera, so you can get that for free too. And now we're moving on to the crawler. Now with this one, I will say surviving that first volley of machine gun fire is probably the toughest part. Obviously you need Riku and Waka to take out that negator as fast as possible, but really survivability comes first. Really, the only thing that you can use is Riku, because without the buffs that she can use with the items, you're really not gonna have a good time. But it is physical damage, so you can defend to take half. My biggest challenge is actually committing to using the items, but once you get through that mindset, then it opens up a lot of doors. Then once the negator's down, you have to deal with the crawler itself. Now it hits very hard with its counterattack, so make sure to power break it, and then the mana beam, so also magic break it. But the main thing is making sure that Riku and Waka are both hasted up and out of the way of the mana beam, so that way when the spell comes in, then they can still take out the negator really quickly. So you go through the cycles of debuffing it so that you can survive the mana beam and dealing your damage. Make sure that Riku and Waka are off the front line. Especially when she's hasted, you'll see that I'll switch Riku out just to revive people and then take her back out. Another random tidbit about items are not only are they usually faster than spells, but they don't get affected by shell. So a lot of times you'll see me either throw a Phoenix down or a high potion with Yuna instead of actually healing, even though she has the magic healing. So that's why. They're fast, and then it's also, if they have shell on, then they'll take half healing, so remember that. Then we don't have it yet, but when Reflect comes into the picture, it gets kind of embarrassing when you end up bouncing Reflect and healing the opponent or hasting the opponent. It's just, so items are really good because they go through Reflect as well. And we have another round of gathering and level ups. So yeah, make sure that you talk to the people that you need to and get all the chests, because there's some very valuable things around here. Then in terms of level ups, Kamari's just about finished what he's gonna be doing on his own. And then Titus has quick hit. It's still very expensive, but when you need it, it's really good. And now we prep for Seymour. As you'd expect, he has a lot of really strong elemental damage. So, like I said this in previous episodes, but I'm not really a fan of the elemental wards. If I really want to go into the elemental protection, I'll go with the SOS. But in this case, I have a few equipment drops that had ward on it already. So I'm just using those to make them a little bit more, or to give them a little bit more coverage. Okay, this fight is no joke, so definitely recommend you definitely have a chance to try it yourself. If you do get stuck, no shame in that, but it's a really good fight. Now, I took this fight as kind of like a 4 stages of strategy here. And stage 1 is making sure that those Guado are out of the picture. It would go a little bit smoother if I equipped Yuna with the elemental protection and then also the magic booster, or the overdrive booster, at the end of the crawler fight, but it's definitely doable without. Now, the first priority is just survive. Now, with the Guado being really annoying, and then Seymour throwing down very, very, very strong magic damage, the question is, how do you handle both? And my answer to that is casting slow on Seymour. This brings him down in the turn order, which, makes so that he doesn't actually hit you for a little bit longer, giving you more time to prep. And then it also has the Guado focus on remedying that slow, so that burns one of their turns too. Then you need to have a null element ready, because Seymour will have a 5 times spell. Then remember, if you have an SOS null something, then it won't actually kick in until the end of the turn. So even though you survive the first hit, the SOS isn't going to save you. But it is one thing in your favor that he goes through a cyclical pattern of ice, lightning, water, fire, repeat. And so if you can keep notes of what he just used, or what he's going to use next, then you can survive, or you can nullify at best 3 of his attacks. Even with this strategy, you can definitely get unlucky though, if someone's caught with low HP, or if the number of hits just are spread out. The goal here is to have Yuna out on the front line with her overdrive booster, and then you get the other guys to get damaged enough so that they charge your overdrive, but in the best case scenario, not actually die. Once she does get the overdrive, it's very important to remember to summon Balfour, because with all of the null elements, the other Aeon's overdrives will be completely negated, so Balfour is the one that you want first. But with the bodyguard Guado out of the way, go to phase 2, and that's more prep than anything. Having Orin or Waka with a non-elemental weapon can get that magic break off through the null spells, so that's very, very nice. That cuts down his damage in half, and then you can also have a lot more time to shell up who you want to keep on the front line. Also, hasting and slowing your party members and him respectively. That gives you a ton of turns that you can use to set up and heal when needed. My two must-haves is a haste on Titus, Waka, and Riku, and then keeping Yuna on the front line too. When she gets her second overdrive, you bring out Ixion, because Aerospark has a cool secondary ability on this one that removes his shell and protect. So that'll be good for the stage 4, but we're still working on we're moving to stage 3 now. Now this part of the fight is a Bravely Default reference. If you haven't played that game, that's a lot of fun too. It's pretty cute. The plan is simple. You just make sure that when it defaults, revive everyone who ends up getting KO'd, and then on the other turn, you use Titus to smack it real hard. If you have a weapon with a whole lot of different elements, now's the time to use them. Anima is weak to literally everything. And remember that weaknesses stack. Now the only thing is that you're on a time limit. If Anima gets her overdrive and Yuna doesn't have a summon to shield, then the party's over. But then you also want to make sure that you're in a good situation for when you do take out Anima, because then Seymour comes back stronger than ever. So if you have any auto lives that you can use at the very end, then that's great. That'll make it so that you get a little bit more turns on that last default or non-default turn to really blitz her down, and then have some turns after to deal with Seymour when he comes back. Now, stage 4 Seymour is super scary. In order to deal with that, I made sure that Orin was in the back pocket and has not used his threaten yet. Then, since he hasn't been silenced yet either, Waka can come in and make sure that he asks to skip a turn to silence proofify himself. Now you can still survive with magic break and shell, but I just want to blitz him down because it is a long fight and I am ready to get it over with. And now with Seymour down, we have a whole lot of levels to spend. Waka getting his elemental busters, and then Orin getting armor break. Then remember that Yuna's about to leave the party for a little bit, so I'm going to teach Kamari Cure, since he can lance it a couple of MP back whenever. And then this MP Spear in the from the Destruction Sphere in the Trials, I'm giving to Waka. So that way we no longer have Waka MP problems. It also takes a little bit of strain off Kamari. Then we restock at Alaka's before we run, but that's for next episode. So, thanks for watching. Really appreciate any comments. And yeah, if you liked the video, I like your face. Bye-bye.